Okay, hello guys, welcome to another video, and a little bit different scenery here and a different kind of special bike. Hopefully it's not too much noise. I'm trying to use a wind block and the phone here just to cut out all the wind, because we are, as you can see, right beside the sea. But I thought of a million ways of doing this video and had a script written, and really looked at every way possible I could do it to describe what this bike is here, this VFR400R NC30. It's my own personal bike, and it's a regretful sell, and I thought I'd do the proper justice in a proper video. So this is what you can look forward to. Okay, now you've had a little look at the bike and maybe a bit of a montage there of the bike in itself. I thought, there's so many ways I can go over different facts on this bike and different things like that, and I've seen a million videos out there telling you all the horsepowers and everything like this, but I think this bike, people are really maybe overlooking slightly, and I feel it's going to go the same way that the likes of the two-stroke bikes are going. The NSRs and the RGVs and all those have really kind of shot up in value in the last few years, and I think these are being kind of slept on a small bit, especially this model, because of its engine and its unique and its racing history and homologation and the time period it was at and looks and everything like that. So let's have a little look and move on. Okay, it's actually gotten a bit too windy to even record with my phone, so I might actually do it through the helmet here. But I do think people are sleeping on these bikes. They're not taking them, they kind of see them as very much toys, and I think come 4 or 5 years down the road, I think people will go, oh yeah, geez, that was quite a special bike, and let me go and try and buy one for the same price that I was thinking of 5 years ago. But I think there's really a couple of things that make them quite special. It's the engine, the looks, and the heritage. And we'll start with the looks first. First of all, you're looking at your twin headlamps, which are only given, was a bespoke styling point of bikes from the late 80s and early 90s. The engine is a V4 double overhead cam, so very unique engine. I don't really know of any other kind of 400 sports bikes for V4s, in that formation, and it had a really nice power band. So the power band on these compared to the other 400s was actually quite low, and you had a lot more torque because of the V4s, and so people actually preferred them to drive. You also have you kind of get a payoff on the own things. Your inline 4 cylinders are revving up to maybe 18,000. This is only at 14.5, and I say only. It's still very high revving engine itself. And then we go on to kind of the heritage and maybe even the scarcity of the bike. Only released from 1989 to 1992. When they were made, there were still bikes left over, which kind of brought them into 1994 being the last year of them kind of being registered, which is what this one is. So you kind of had the second generation of the VFR400s, and this one, being the latter, the second generation, but the first two being not really as desirable as this, because this was based off a very, very famous race bike, the RC30. So the RC30 was a 750 V4 and had a huge racing history and won a lot of things. If you want to go into that, you can go into more detail, but this is basically what this bike is shaped of, and I can see those kind of RC30s reaching very high into, I think even now they're at maybe 30,000-40,000 euros, even more, $50,000. and in 5 years time that's only going to go up to see how many there are on the road and the scarcity of them and the desirability of them. So there's so many of the things that go on about, but enough of the facts. I think most of the time it just comes down to feel with bikes, so let's get on the bike and ride her. Okay, so the first thing when you get on the bike you'll feel is it's very low. It's quite a small bike as well. Me being at just 6'2", it is quite small, but I still fit onto it. I kind of force myself onto these bikes because they are my passion. You know, normally you have kind of obscure things like the choke actually being down here on the left hand side, which people are unaware of on these bikes, but because I've started the bike and I've rode it down to that position, it doesn't really need any choke to get going. You'll hear that distinct whine of the VFR400s, and you kind of get that rumbling power coming through. I know it's only 60 horsepower, but the bike is so light that it really doesn't matter. You know, I've been on bikes that have a huge amount more power and they just don't feel like this. The next thing you'll notice is you know, with the sticky Michelin tires we have on here, well, I've put on here, the handling is, you know, this is probably one of the best handling bikes I've ever been on, and I've ridden a lot of bikes, a lot of even the smaller bikes like the CBR250RRs, and for whatever reason, maybe it's just me, that it fits me a bit better. The bigger size, the bigger weight, slightly more weight, I do feel like I do get on with the bike a bit more on the handling point of view. The next thing then is kind of the sound. I mean, the sound is really nice. You get that low rumble as you go through the revs and you're revving up through them, but you, like I've been saying in the intro of this, you do get that you know, power band that's a bit lower down than the other 400s in its class of this era of bike. But for me, I do think you know, this kind of smaller capacity, certainly in areas like Ireland where, you know, you cannot use 1000 cc's, and I think, you know, there's proof of that online. If you go on to online and you look what these guys are doing with their 1000 cc R1s and you know, your BMW S1000RRs and stuff, like, there's no way in any way possibility that I'd ever be able to extract out, you know, even 20% of what those riders are doing. So gonna let her out. So, like, I just think, you know, something like this, or a 400, and she's stopped. It was meant to be you stopping as well, but anyway, you know, something like this where it's a 400, you can really kind of maybe have a bit more fun with a bit less danger, and really enjoy a bike for its handling capabilities, and it's just fun, you know, all around. But yeah, these bikes really are what I'm all about. The 400cc kind of category, well, it'll be the inline 4s or the VFR400s. Now a bit maybe onto why I'm selling the bike, and you know, it's a regretful sell for me because, you know, I really do like the bike, but it's just under the circumstances that we have now with Retro Bikes Dublin, we're getting in a big shipment in the next month and a half, and we do have to just clear out bikes, and I just don't have, you know, there just isn't the room for this. I have two of them. I have this one and I have another one, the other one being a bit more of a project. I am looking to sell that bike as well. I presume that this bike will probably go quite quickly, so if you are interested in that bike as well, you can reach out to us. Okay, maybe, you know, because I am selling it, I might go into some of the reasons why, or some of maybe the more details about this specific VFR400. I bought it about a year ago. It was kind of neglected. It wasn't so much that it was in bad condition or had much work to do to it, but it just had been neglected and needed you know, your usual stuff. So it had a full carb clean out, you know, carbs were basically rebuilt. We had a brand new front tire put onto it. I think the rear was a second-hand tire, but had plenty of tread, was very little use on it that I put on as well.
The brakes were bled, everything was kind of looked over, made sure it all was running nicely, and to be honest, it hasn't missed a beat for me since. I've done very little kilometers on this bike. I've actually know the kilometers that I've done on this bike. Previously I did 120 kilometers, and now there's 85 on the odometer here that I've done. So I'm up at about 200 kilometers. So maybe in total I might have done 220 kilometers on the bike in the last year, just doing little spins out and stuff like that, but nothing too major. I think overall the condition of the bike is probably a B+. It's not absolutely mint, but you know, having had a few of these bikes, I do know what the type of condition of these bikes are out there, and they're usually quite poor. Oh, just actually pulled a muscle in my leg there, that's what happened. Christ. They usually are quite poor, in that, you know, they're usually either left kind of, it kind of comes back to my original point of where people think they're just kind of whatever bikes, and who cares, you know, if I thrash it, what does it matter? And I think what people are going to come back to really regret that, because they're going to be worth quite a bit of money in the future, and you know, you're going to have a bike that you said, geez, why did I really thrash that bike and make a real mess of it, and not just keep it quite original. And this is what this one is. It has a few aftermarket things. I would say the front black tinted screen is obviously aftermarket. The fairings are all original, which is very rare and nice to have. So the fairings are very, very good. Oh right, he's just about missed it. They do have some cracks in them in the lower portions. You do have some cracks there. Other than that, can I say, you know, really, to be honest, you're looking at mechanical wise, this is the best one I've ridden. I've ridden 3 VFRs 400s, and this is by far the best mechanical one I've driven. You know, the engine feels really fresh. You only have 20,000 kilometers on the clock. You know, we have all the indicators working, everything, all the electrics really nice and set up. All the things on the dash are working, the odometer, the tachometer, the temperature. Another thing to note on these bikes is they do usually run quite hot, and to be honest, this bike has, I've never really had the bike go that hot. My other VFR is quite a hot running bike. This one seems to be quite a cool running bike, which is really, really good to see. It means that you know, some of the usual things that go wrong with them, like the rads and the coolant lines, are all working very, very nicely. It's also one of the most responsive in the throttle. You know, it's near, I know it's carb, but it feels like it's near instant on the response of these things, and is really, really nice overall. Brakes feel very good, front and rear, so that's a good sign also. You do have these kind of aftermarket golden bar ends, but I mean, they're not very difficult to, you can get the original silver ones if you really want to. They won't be very expensive. There really isn't a lot to do with the bike. It isn't by any means an absolute, you know, museum piece. But in the same stead, you know, I've actually probably nearly enjoyed riding the bike more because of that. Because, you know, from, you know, the normal person, if you don't have your eye on complete scrutiny and really bashing a bike, you will look at this and say, this is a really nice condition. But as well as that, it does mean that you can ride it. You know, you don't feel particularly bad for riding the bike. And I would say this is the perfect medium. If you're looking for a museum quality VFR400, this is not the bike for you. And it's also priced as well. I've priced it so it's not going to even come close to what those ones are coming at. If you're looking for a VFR400 that you would like to keep nice, is mechanically very, very good, aesthetically, you know, if you wanted to do, maybe spend 1,000 to 1,500 euros on the bike, you could get it up to a really, really good standard, an A standard bike. But I think ultimately this is probably for someone that wants to have a VFR, is looking at kind of those museum pieces going for 8 to 10,000 euros and thinking that's a bit, you know, that is a bit steep, but I'd still really like to have a VFR and have it for a collection. Then this is the bike for you. You know, it is what it says on the tin, and that's about it. We will do our final little checks at the end here. I was, like I said in the beginning, going to do all this kind of, you know, drones and this and that, and really go over the history of the bike. But for me, I think, you know, motorcycles in general aren't about stats and facts and, you know, oh, this and that. There is a bit of it that plays into it, but I do think these are ultimately the last of its breed, the last of its kind. You know, we won't find bikes like this in this category. You know, smaller capacity CC sports bikes that pretty much had all the bells and whistles of the full 1000s. This is probably going to be the fastest 400cc motorcycle, you know, or, you know, this era of inline 4s or VFR 400s that we're ever going to find. You know, you have the Ninja 400s and the likes now, which are just, compared to this, is like child's play. You'd absolutely mince meat in it, and this is going up to now 30 years ago. So bikes are coming out now between the, you know, 250, 400s, all those sports bikes, for me, are complete nonsense. You know, they're single cylinder, mundane pieces of doo-doo in my mind. This is a bike that's completely based on a race homologation RC750, you know, from its era. Looks so much better, it's so much cooler looking, it sounds 100 times better. You know, you really can't find these things anymore, and they're not going to build them. I know there has been a few like 400RR that came out in Japan, which was a twin, disappointingly, rather than the 4-cylinder. But I think this is the machine that people are going to look back on and really think, oh, I should have bought that, or I really wish I had a go one of those, because they just don't exist anymore. Right, I'm going to pull in here and do our usuals and finish off the video. A little bit different, small bit different. I thought it was going to be more mega, but, you know, when I came to it, I kind of just said, you know what, I'm just going to have a nice time on my bike and try and express that through the video. So actually, I'll turn it back on. I'll show you idling. This is maybe for the people that are looking to buy this bike. Indicators, dual front headlamps working, front left working, rear left working, rear right working, and the front right working as well. And the horn, I think I'll do 2 here, all working for you. Parking lights also working, and you're off. So everything is absolutely mint, ticking over, running through all the gears, sounding as she should. It's just a really, really nice bike. That's kind of been it though, guys. If you have liked the video, please do leave a like, comment and subscribe. If you do want to reach out to us on our socials, they are at RetroBikeSublin for Facebook, Instagram, and our official website is www.retrobikesublin.com. Thanks for watching.